Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome to another Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane. We'll be watching here a bit of 1 vs 1 on Semoski Winter. Yes, indeed, in the snow. We shall be watching two forces fight it out. We shall be watching Siberian of the 1st Infantry Division going up against Ginnungagap, fighting for the Soviet Union. Obviously, there's not really much else to fight here, but sort of keep it a bit of stylish. And fighting right here for the 413th Rifle Division. We were watching Siberian fight with Spearhead, Elite Troops und Osttruppen versus Ginnungagap Soviet Shock Rifle and Shock Motor Heavy Tactics. A shocking development right here, and a further one as we see Shock Army chosen. Hardly shocking, knowing the fact that he's one of the most chosen ones, and again, you know, he's one of the free ones. Very popular due to the fact it gives you submachine guns, shock troopers at the same time. That's pretty much the only combination doctrine we combine the two, but also heavy mortars, artillery, and Sturmweg attacks. In many regards, it's a very nasty doctrine to fight with infantry against. And Siberian so far, no doctrines here. We're seeing a few grenadiers. We're actually noting here as MG42 was second out after his grenadier team. His Grenadier Gruppe. And we're noting here an emphasis on actually rushing towards the eastern fuel point. He's ignoring this point instead, focusing very heavily on this one. Interestingly enough, crossing the ice, in fact, braving the mighty bits of ice out here in this little stream-ish thing. Well, there we go, additional grenadiers arriving. Plenty of conscripts here. There might of course be a chance of shock troopers having mortars, but there's definitely going to be a chance of submachine guns being handed out en masse to the Soviet troops. Which certainly is far from unrealistic, as the Soviets employed submachine guns on a very large scale. In fact, they were pretty much the one army to really do it. No other army actually sort of got it close. So that's a little fun fact there. MG42 very boldly actually moving up to the centre. Apparently Siberian must have felt very confident there. Grenadiers leaning quickly up, and another grenadier squad holding up here. Conscripts hold up here by a bit of brush. And there go engagement in the centre. MG42 might move up to support here. Slowly but surely. 3 grenadier squads so far now for Siberian. More conscripts rushing in towards the house. We might see a Molotov fly through the air, the frangible of doom. Conscripts up here coming under fire, holding out nicely in the heavy cover though. Versus the grenadiers and the MG42. And no frangibles of fire so far. One grenadier down though. Pioneers moving up to part of its support there with their MP40s, the machine and pistolen. Grenadiers moving up, and they might be countering in combination. There's a rather so far. Siberian's actually going for a pretty spread out approach, but so far seems to be holding up quite nicely in static positions, though we are seeing that Ginnungagap is pushing in pretty aggressively in response, trying to find a way through all of this and overpower Siberian now, of course, knowing he's actually fighting on several free spots, which means overall there's not going to be much of a reserve to really, you know, hold back this advantage so tight. And there we go, frangible away through the windows, lighting the entire facade on fire, or at least one side. Part of it. Conscious getting stopped by the MG42, firing in the thick snow. Grenadiers need to retreat. Second MG42, so 3 grenadiers, 2 MG42 so far up for Siberian. Very heavy tier 1, and not very heavy, but certainly one of the heavier ones. And one that can sort of be used aggressively and defensively. Using a 4th grenadier squad, that's definitely moving into very heavy territory. Grenadiers here. Are they actually losing to the combat engineers? Well, that's a rarity, but apparently can happen. Since overall combat is actually to fight with the exact same rifles of the conscripts, but still, it's rare. I'm rather curious as to how that actually pulled off. Most surprised. I'm sure Siberian is as well. But of course, like a proper German, he blames the troops and fights on. Anyways, no, that would be a proper Austrian. Ahaha, if you catch the joke there. Anyways, MG42 rushing ahead. Setting up both to cover each other. It's nice that at the same time he needs to be careful he doesn't get rushed by infantry currently as they're moving about. 4-6 Siberian. There we go, moves a bit too close ahead there. Bad. And of course he leaves his rear very much exposed right there. Bad idea. Definitely think that was Siberian getting a bit too defensive there. Grenadiers moving up there, up north. Also munitions are available for a light machine gun for the Grenadiers. He's desperately trying to do something here, but again the conscripts keep moving about. Of course now they are both sort of... Now the MG2s are covering each other, which is something, but there we go. First Molotov hits, lights one unit on fire. Conscripts here might be forced away. MG42 just shredding the poor sorts, while the support gunners do their best with the other squad hanging about here behind. We are seeing some gunners bringing in support, so that needs to be Schnell.
Watch the flanks!
And there we go. Yuri went down, but the MG42 looks like it will ultimately be forced away. There we go. Almost wiped out there, down to one man. Pioneers covering. That is very close. That MG crew could get wiped out, but no, somehow manages despite everything. And looks like the conscripts pull off the trick at the same time. Hold up here in the village. Cemetery a bit. Grenadiers, Pioneers advancing slowly. Grenadiers ever so slowly pulling a bit back as well. We are seeing a support weapon company now going for Ginnungagap. No sign of the doctor as of yet. No shock troopers, no heavy mortars, nor submachine guns, and still no choice of doctrine for Siberian. And we're noticing a fifth squad of Grenadiers going very heavily into tier 1. He must be feeling very confident, but at the same time it's also clear he must be aiming for a quick rush to the tier 3. And some panzers, thus him putting very heavy emphasis on this. A bit dangerous, particularly considering his current situation where Ginnungagap is largely dominating the field. But there we go, one MG42 reaching veterancy 1. Quickly grabbing all the fuel away. But one Grenadier squad heroically defends it. And there we go, we're seeing MGs equipped for the Grenadier holding up here in the ditch. Conscripts moving in. Although the MG crew might be shifting about a bit too much, allowing this conscripts there a bit of a chance there with the submachines. So there we go. P641s for victory, it would seem. Doing a bit of nasty damage there up close. Getting rather close here. Grenadiers setting a bunker there, but the fact continues, we might see retreat. And there we go, dead. Gun down. Thankfully no light machine gun was dropped, and quickly merging the conscripts there with the other one, thus forming a quickly ready veteran 2 conscript squad there for Ginnungagap. That's definitely going to be much worth than the raw one there. So nice little tactical decision there by Ginnungagap. We're seeing a tank battalion command going up. Good use of merch. Always good to commend that.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
They're secured.
Grenadier, ready.
Tank battalion command going up. Conscripts rushing into the centre here. Grenadiers taking up position inside the church. Not the ones with the light machine gun though.
Our headquarters has been improved.
And an assault on the village. 10 MG4 using it might have moved a bit too far ahead there. Well, let's see if he pulls it off nonetheless.
Army unit has engaged us.
Conscripts might try and flank here around the church. But no, another MG4. Damn it, building there provided just sufficient blockage for the conscripts to avoid. And there we go, the squad flanks. At the same time, conscripts got once more forced the Grenadiers out of this farm building. It's certainly taking a lot of frangibles to that particular side.
Coming from behind.
Grenadiers they continue to fight out heroically here from inside the church, though they definitely do a lot better with a machine gun in their hands. Closing in then in terms of taking. Grenadiers here fighting up versus the conscript squad up north. Nothing for the conscripts there. That's definitely going to put the advantage into the Grenadiers, in particular since they already popped the Molotov. And there we go, victory for Deutschland in the snow.
Our territory. We learned something useful today. They're shooting us to shit.
Grenadiers down south looks... Oh, never mind that. More conscripts moving out there, lots of bullets flying through the air. Making a push there for the building. Likely a frangible on its way, there we go.
I think we have their attention.
A frangible to the faith. Anyways, Siberian once more getting pushed out of the village. Chance here of tanks soon for Ginnungagap. The interesting so far, no usage really of the support weapon Campania, no machine guns or mortars, which could definitely prove a bit of an additional support element, or say a field gun. There's definitely manpower forward and still getting a tank. In particular, well-placed Maxim could make things a lot more difficult for Siberian. And there we go, that we do see the support armor corps up. Again, placing emphasis on a very heavy tier 1 and then taking it from there. What some Ostheer players do. Though certainly not without its hazards. Ginnungagap keeping pressuring on here, but sadly a lack of mines around here has made it rather easy for Siberian to actually push forward, and again rather relying on the conscripts and no real support weapons, so thus sort of perhaps form a strong point here and there, which to make things a bit harder for Siberian. Though we might not be seeing the T-34 on the way. And we're seeing elite troops up, so there might be a chance of get there for the first. There we go, mines up, but a bit late there. Actually, time to pop. Oh, whoops! To Ginnungagap. Wrong button there, very wrong button. Noting here, by the way, also 5 infantry squads for Ginnungagap, all equipped with submachine guns and a hatred for the fascist foe. Nice rifle grenade there. Germans focusing up here on the village centre. Can't think about there while this one continues the harassment. Good job there. T-34-76 has arrived for the Soviet Union. Charging in against the Grenadiers, getting the advantage up close with the PPH-41s. MG-42s and Molotovs going off. Nice Molotov there. I mean, Siberian definitely had his troops too close punch up there. T-34 though needs to be quick about moving up. And taking opportunity right here from the harassment to then flank the positions here. Well played, but apparently, oh, he saw it with the retreating unit. He's actually prepared. Nicely done there. But at the same time, the veteran 2 conscripts are within range now. Though they might get a retreating Grenadier escort now. Oh, good lord, just utter chaos as Ginnungagap pulls off a very nice assault from numerous angles. Ultimately bridging the defenses and sending Siberian running away. Nicely done there, nicely done.
Okay, that's the last one. We are ready to build it or blow.
Now to set up some more mines. Here would be a good spot. Here would be a good spot. Here would be a good spot. Around so. One lone unit ranging about here, but might soon get very dead, in particular since they're rather low on health.
We must defend this territory.
But definitely doing his best to sort of cut off all of Siberian's fuel. Always a good thing, but 1st Infantry Division, East Prussian by the way, has received support. A Panzerkampfwagen rolls out. Additional T-34 on the way. Good, good.
Rifleman ready. Anti-tank mine set to go. You need something built?
There we go, mines up. And a field gun also arriving.
Fire incoming! You're taking losses!
Grenadiers leading the way, ensuring the Panzer IV doesn't mind any nasty surprises. And T-34 then immediately rushes into it. Going to see if he can't perhaps get... Oh, no anti-tank grenades up actually. A bit late there, which actually allows the Panzer IV to escape unscathed right there. Also a bit of advantage of the heavy infantry pressure. I mean, ultimately in some cards you don't end up thinking about armor so much. Then end up focusing much on the infantry. And now the Panzer IV is moving ahead here, doing a bit of nice damage there. Panzer IV laying down the law of the Reich.
Area secured.
And the Grenadier squad hiding all the way up here by the trees. And there we go, the second T-34 arrives. Can Ginnungagap coordinate them well against Siberian? And there we go, mine went off. That's definitely the time for the Panzer IV, T-34 to charge in. But apparently he's not aware of it. He's not aware of it, which should give Siberian the time to actually patch this Panzer up again and get it moving. Definitely a shame there. Otherwise there could have been a golden opportunity out there. The T-34 might see it. Fascist Panzer damage spotted. The other T-34 needs to get moving quickly. Quickly. Pioneers taking a brutal hit. But come on, Ginnungagap, charge. Hoorah and all that. get behind the Panzer IV. Incendiary armor piercing rounds actually going out from this MG42. It only really works well against the rear arm of a T-34, though, mind you. But there we go, contributing to support, getting caught in this. And just keeps piling away. Might actually get Veteran 2 from it, but no. T-34 just barely escapes. But no, Grenadier squad nearby. But looks like Siberian isn't paying attention. T-34 needs to pull back. No, never mind. There we go. Panzerfaust. Main gun destroyed though, good lord. And the MG42 taken out here by a light artillery barrage from the field gun. Well done right there. Other MG42 covering up. T-34 advancing. Pioneers quickly moving up to support and repair the Panzer IV. Can Ginnungagap quickly get the drop on it? He could try and move about here and get behind the Panzer IV. But it needs to happen soon. And can Ginnungagap save this T-34 somehow? Molotovs and T-34-5 versus the church occupants. And Grenadiers are hanging about the rear lines, but encountering a severe amount of upset conscripts. But looks like the Panzer IV will be allowed to fully repair. Ooh, bad news for Ginnungagap. Lost an excellent chance right there to sort of deliver a killing blow. Finish it off. Not once, but twice by now. Bit unfortunate there. Also, good job there, and have been activating numerous pioneers now to do the repair works. Definitely good repair tactics there.
AT gun here.
Bit of resources being flooded here. A half-track one way. Lovely half-track. Another mine went off. That Panzer IV keeps setting off the mines. But will Ginnungagap seize the opportunity right here this time around? Field gun moving up as well. Oh, a chance of stealing the MG42, but looks like... Oh, missing it, missing the Grenadiers. Will they go for it? At the same time, Panzer IV being engaged. Need to be a bit careful. Field gun should primarily do the work here from the front. Panzer IV, or T-34 should focus on the pioneers. One more hit and that's good night. Oh, and a Pack 40 though. A Pack 40 appeared and hit the T-34 from the flank. And the Grenadiers were able to steal away the MG42 right under Ginnungagap's nose. That is absolutely unfortunate. In the meanwhile, a Grenadier squad upgraded to Jaeger have taken on here and knocked out several of the Grenadiers, repairing the T-34 here. Bad news. But finally, at the same time, we do see the Panzer IV going down. Pack 40 here, an easy target for the conscripts. Will Ginnungagap overwhelm the pack crew and seize it for the motherland? And this T-34 is just having absolutely rubbish luck. More engineers will be needed. And the Pack 40 was actually allowed to escape the clutches of the Rudina. With the second field gun on the way, though again, had he been able to steal that, he would easily have augmented these fortifications with that. And again, I do feel, another thing might be necessary or helpful would be a Maxim or a mortar. Mortar right around here, in particular heavy mortar, could make things a lot of a mess. But we do see the anti-aircraft upgrade up for the half-track. The quad 50 caliber mount.
T-34, crude, yes, comrade. There are no cowards. Our unit count is increasing.
There we go. Seconds is 3.
T-34 ready.
Half-track rolling about here, ready to mow down some krauts. And there we go. Blasting away. Really doing a nice hit there on the Grenadiers. Suppressing them also quite nicely. And sending them running. Still a bit of a lack of mines though. But time for the mid-game analysis. Current situation in terms of damage, I mean, things are extremely equal. Same with kills. I mean, that's actually quite impressive. Certainly speaks about both players, but in particular the Soviet player, that he was able to keep things that close. Normally the Soviets, I mean, even when they're doing well, will have a sort of, difference, in that they actually be a bit behind in terms of damage, in terms of kills. But not here. That actually speaks quite nicely. Certainly also quite large force so far, holding things up. Though a bit of a unfortunate loss for that one T-34. And more will be needed soon. But at the same time, though, things are clearly not safe yet. Of course, we've got a Pack 40 here moving in. There's still not been any formal repairs because Siberian knows where it is. Siberian also knows it's got a burning engine, which means it's not going anywhere except to hell. After a bit of a talk with the Pack 40, of course, but overall, a nice sizable force at the same time. Of course, that's one of the problems for Ginnungagap. Overall, there's a bit of lack of, support weapons that could provide a strong point, something that is going to take Siberian much more to crack than just rushing up his Grenadiers with Gewehr 43s and MG42s. In that regard, a Maxim and a mortar in the right place could easily do a lot to make things a lot more painful for Siberian. In particular, the mortar could also then do something about the MG42s and the Pack 40s from a much safer distance, in particular once Veterans 1 is hit and Precision Strike becomes available. I mean, particular precision strike with this kind of mortar is going to hurt. Also, mines around here would be, again, good. And further mines will definitely be needed. Even perhaps a bit of barbed wire to sort of make it harder for Siberian to move his infantry about would be an idea. But otherwise, another T-34. I mean, there are plenty of options in that regard. But overall, it's so far actually a bit curious to see that so far Ginnungagap has barely made use of his doctrine. I mean, there's been no shock troops, no heavy mortar, no howitzer, which could also prove quite advantageous, in obstructing an assault, for example. Nothing of that either. That's a bit, particular from Ginnungagap. And overall, I think Ginnungagap should consider doing a bit more with the doctrine, either some shock troopers, but also just the heavy mortar could itself prove quite handy. Or for that matter, howitzer would provide even better artillery and just, something that could really cause, Siberian a headache. Also, victory points, though, on the other hand, are not really looking good for Siberian either. I mean, in many regards, Ginnungagap does have the advantage, but at the same time, there's just one weakness. There's the defensive weakness. There's been no real preparations made for the defense by Ginnungagap. And that's really one thing that could prove to be a Siberian advantage, since Siberian still has quite the force with plenty of infantry, plenty of MG42s to sort of hold up the defenders, got Pack 40s, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be another Panzerkampfwagen soon on the way. I mean, we're not far off from that. In terms of doctrine, I mean, we're not really seeing much from him either. We're seeing a bit of Gewehr 43, but say no troop training, no stun grenades, which would also be quite handy, and no Panzertactician. And the Tiger Ace, if he does choose to go for it, is also quite a bit far off, so that's not really a priority either. But still, I mean, there are definitely some options. He might want to consider a mortar to help sort of soften up the defense, or pop down some smoke to, say, blind up some units. That could also be a handy dandy little idea. Though, of course, man, he soon won't be able to worry about armors. It's all got one T-34, and the other ones, well, as already stated, there's one place it's going, and it ain't Moscow. Or Berlin, for that matter. So, of course, there's a little thing to keep in mind there, but back to Ginnungagap and back to the fight. There we go. The pack slowly moves ahead. The T-34 tries to get away, but there's hardly going to be any salvation there. MG42 is supporting, and a nice light artillery barrage again. Good use of the ability. Almost gets the Grenadier squad right there. Also very close to getting the MG42. See the AA half-track slowly moving up. Also showing you can actually enforce the field gun. I mean, that's another reason you actually have half-track up, just so you can actually reinforce your troops at the front line. In that regard, that's actually a really good choice there by Ginnungagap. MG42 looks... there we go, nice hoorah behind it. Siberian trying to reform a defensive line, but no luck. And of course the pack trying to escape. Half-track rolling in.
All units are here.
And we just see the Pioneers getting shredded on the ice. No luck there.
You have orders?
Siberian continuing to push ahead aggressively. Also, we've seen these attack success cut off. Ginnungagap from his munitions. Grenadiers on the ice, getting blasted there brutally. That getting right down, shredded. Actually, right from any unit trying to lay down a mine. Managed to not hit it right as it finished though, but just before, otherwise that could have been even more lethal. Grenadiers here with MG42 doing quite nice against the conscripts. And a second Panzerkampfwagen arrives there for Siberian. And another T-34 arrives there for the Soviet Union. Veterans of the conscripts, they definitely need to get the devil out of there before they're wiped out. Panzer IV immediately rolling in, no field gun there to hold things up.
We are losing territory.
forcing them to have to rush in at the same time, leaving the front line infantry exposed. We're seeing a bit of a pullback here from the western field as the Panzer IV supported by Grenadier squad moves ahead. Half tank needs to get out there. Field gun fires, but oh, misses. Fact, put back by infantry. T-34 though is there to save the day, but it would be better if the field guns were there. Ultimately though, the half tank could not be saved, and we actually see him ramming the Panzer IV at the same time. Another bit of incendiary armor piercing round here by the looks of it by the MG42. Hitting veterans 2 at the very same time. And an infantry squad finally lost there for Ginnungagap. Rather unfortunate that. Field gun here left to its own devices, nothing countering, no Maxim, no anything. T-34 suffering ever slight damage as the MG42 just continues to... Oh no! Losing the veteran G2 field gun crew there. Absolutely huge loss right there for Ginnungagap. Can't get the meanwhile getting murdered. Oh, just so many heavy infantry losses all of a sudden here by the looks of it for Ginnungagap. 2 infantry squads gone in the blink of an eye, and a veteran field gun crew, and a half track and a T-34. This is just absolutely terrible. Ginnungagap, who used to look so strong, is all of a sudden taking heavy losses. This is definitely bad news, and the Panzerkampfwagen is repaired once more. Swift administrations here by the 2 Pioneer squads got in combat operational quickly.
Taking fire! AT gun ready.
And this looks to be the moment that Siberian broke through and gained the upper hand. An absolutely brutal series of engagements right there
Supply lines have been cut
against Ginnungagap.
They've opened up on us! Ready! I am getting tired of
That is definitely going to hurt, and that's definitely going to be hard to come back from. In particular, since the amount of losses inflicted upon Siberian certainly were not equal in response.
We are as ready as we can be. Engineer standing by. T-34 reporting.
field gun standing by.
Panzer IV taking a defensive position by the half-track wreck by the looks of it. Infantry might want to cover it a bit.
We are losing supplies to
And
the
now
enemy.
Siberian is the one gaining most of the map, setting up MG42s at vital junctions. Troops advancing. Pioneers could set down mines. There we go. Panzer IV advancing, but straight into the field gun and T-34's line of fire. Another half-track out there for Ginnungagap.
Units have arrived.
We have it.
Slowly advancing here, very slowly, with a field gun there seized from the Soviets.
Enemy forces are neutralizing a sector.
Half-track rolling up, not sufficient munitions for the anti-air package.
T-34 ready.
We will defend it to the death.
MG42 through the snow. Grenadiers in the nearby building as well, with an MG42 there too.
Sector under attack.
Conscripts hold up in the hedgerows, but they're not doing too well there. And there we go, veteran DP for the Grenadiers inside. That's definitely going to be bad news. T-34 took a nice hit there from the Soviet field gun. Well, the German field gun. MG42 close are getting wiped out. G Panzerfaust connects with the rear, and at this very same time, field gun crew is dead. Panzer IV are moving in. That definitely looks like a bad situation there for the T-34. Can the field gun move quickly enough to provide support? There we go, anti-tank grenade connects. Panzer IV down to half health. Field gun needs to get firing. T-34 though out of control, and just as it happens, Panzer IV quickly pulls up behind the house. Definitely bad engagement. There we go, Grenadier squad flanking in on the exposed side of the Soviet attack. Nice little counter-attack there from Siberian, but it quickly gets routed though, simply due to lack of firepower. In that regard, upgrading them might have been a slight idea. He certainly had the munitions for a few light machine guns and give air 43 upgrades there. And we're actually seeing some Panzergrenadier arriving there in support of the 1st Infantry Division there for Siberian. Interesting choice about now. And a 2nd Panzerkampfwagen 4. While at the same time there, good job then repairing the re-secured field gun. Getting a 3rd one, getting clearly very paranoid about the enemy's armor, but still to a certain extent perhaps neglecting the power of Siberian's infantry.
Okay, that's the last one.
Anti-tank gun is ready.
Also, this MG42 is actually getting rather close to veteran free.
We are taking losses.
Oh, Karnskiv's running straight into the MG42 right there up close. And Jaeger upgraded Grenadiers, finding a way there. Karnskiv's getting murdered. Oh, another loss there for Ginnungagap. That hurts.
Troops have been lost.
And the MG42 pulling back there through the snow, getting hunted down with the Karnskiv. The Karnskiv going straight in front of the Panzerkampfwagen 4. Hardly good either.
Enemy squad has us sighted.
And a nice flank there from the Panzergrenadiers. Crossing the road.
They've opened up on us.
Quick fun grenade, which in this regard fails to do much. Non-engagement.
What do you need?
Field gun slowly bombarding away, and looks like a Schützenpanzerwagen arrives there for the Siberian.
Under infantry is there.
Panther 4's making their slow advance. Field guns firing away. Panther fast on the half track. Half track actually moving straight from the Panther 4. Ach du lieber.
300 points stand between us and the
MG42 closing very nicely in there on veterancy 3. So positions here not holding up. There's nothing to really sort of hold them up in fact at all. Mostly just field guns, and they really can't do much against the infantry here.
A squad of infantry has been killed.
Another unit wiped out, another field gun left behind for the fascists to use. And there we go, veterancy 3 for the MG42.
The ultimate sacrifice.
And quickly clearing out the field gun crew there.
Enemy contact.
And there we go. Nicely shot there. And absolutely no one is allowed to live. Half track trying to escape, but not looking too good there either. The engine is burning, or at least smoking.
Our unit count is increasing.
So roll a brutal engagement right there. Heavy losses on Ginnungagap once more, and clearly Siberian is now the one with the
We are
advantage.
losing territory.
And that MG42 just keeps on killing now that it's hit veterancy 3.
Replacements have arrived.
Another T-34 right in there for Ginnungagap. But can Ginnungagap turn the tide once more in the favour of the motherland? Alternating here, Siberian taking no chance, actually laying down that machine gun bunker here in the centre. Good idea there. And a T-34. Oh dear. Flanked there by the Panzer 4. That is hardly good news. Veteran 2 up, but then moves straight into the conscripts. And an anti-tank grenade actually managed to damage the engine. Field gun fires away. But the T-34 goes down no matter what. And there we go, active panzer tactician used. Huzzah! Not entirely sure about the direction he's going through the snow. That doesn't necessarily seem so inspired there, but I suppose he's trying to get behind this small shack to avoid the fire of the field gun when the Pioneers rush ahead with the further infantry forces moving in, supported by Schützenpanzerwagen. And the Panzergrenadier versus veterans, the conscript submachine guns. And looks like though here Ginnungagap gives up. The fight has been lost. Very brutal fight, overall in many regards equal, but then Ginnungagap rather had one poor engagement where he simply lost too much, and more in particular, too much veteran equipment. And in that regard, again, it was partly due to a lack of stronghold, which could have then sort of a strong point, which could allow him to sort of hold on, but still, After that, there was absolutely nothing holding the front line, which all of a sudden meant he had to attack versus a superior force, not just in numbers, but in veterancy. In that, of course, Siberian had done an excellent job actually holding on to as many units as possible and gaining them veterancy and slowly gaining them additional weapons, overall building up that way a superior force. And again, that was rather where things slowly went awry for Ginnungagap. There was something lacking, something extra, like say a Maxim, a mortar of the heavy kind, or perhaps some shock tools which could really put the hurt on Siberian's infantry. In that regard, there were few things that didn't quite mesh well together, but again, overall, doctrinal usage could have been considerably better from Ginnungagap. That was definitely one of the things that sort of held him back, but also, again, a lack of some proper defences, something that could really give Siberian cause for pause. Siberian itself could also done better with the doctrine. We only saw what Jaeger light infantry upgrades and Panzer tactician. I mean, there's no real, say, stun grenades, troop training usage, which could have perhaps done a little bit more, make things a bit more interesting in some regards. And again, note, quite a bit of infantry upgraded with all sorts of weapons and quite veteran in most cases. Also, that veterancy free MG42, you generally don't see that unless, of course, in the hands of someone who bloody well knows how to use it. So again, nice job there. Also, nice, good use of incendiary armor-piercing rounds throughout the fight several times. That definitely also should be merited upon. A few mines could have been nice from Siberian here and there, but overall, I mean, his main problem though was overall, despite having a large force, he actually had a bit of a hard time actually holding on to ground in some regards, because Ginnungagap, using the large amount of conscripts with submachine guns, kept sort of sneaking in and attacking, but at some point, you simply can't do that, not when the opponent then begins attacking with panzers. And in that regard, Ginnungagap was actually taking a bit back once the panzers arrived. In that regard, there's a bit lacking in sort of preparation, and the T-34s could have been used better. In that regard, they were sort of a bit piecemeal, and then you're not really taking chances several times where he could have, overwhelmed Siberian's one damaged Panzer IV. In that regard, that could probably result in a game over, at least a much stronger position later on in the game. So a few thoughts here and there. Also, nice repair tactics from Siberian. That was another thing where Ginnungagap probably could have done better. But there you go. Hope you enjoyed this fight. Hope you learned a thing or two or three. If you did, want to subscribe, tell your friends. If you didn't, well, why not simply provide some feedback in the comments. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.